OAS remains as silent as it always has when it comes to supporting democracy. I love getting interrupted by our democratic process, so I never mind scooting in and out of committee rooms. Now, some would like to defend the OAS. I see it as a failed institution, and I heard that our money is going to this institution, 40% of its budget. And what did the OAS do just on Friday? Maria Corina Machado, who has now been stripped of her legislative immunity, she is a legislator in the National Congress. She was invited by Panama to speak in favor of human rights and democracy. Can you imagine? What nerve to speak in favor of democratic principles in the OAS. And there's the Secretary General, a buffoon, who just continues to silence the opposition, refuses to hear that there are any problems, see no evil, hear no evil, and so they do nothing. And this wasteful institution is gobbling up our money. What an insult. And, you know, the Obama administration would like us to believe that our region is stable and prosperous, but it fails to acknowledge the ongoing threats to our national security, our stability, and the challenges that we face in promoting democracy, freedom, the rule of law. And, you know, a democracy is more than holding an election, even a fraudulent election at that. Because Obama, we had an election, free and fair. Can you say that about the other countries that have had elections? Really, Maduro? I presented to Secretary Kerry evidence of the electoral fraud in Maduro's case. Nothing has been done. And Ortega, he changes the Constitution so that he can get reelected. There's no separation of powers, but a democracy is more than an election. A democracy is ruling in a democratic way. It is making sure that the opposition, the minority, has a voice. And Maduro's acts are those of a coward and a bully. And if the administration continues to allow his actions to go not even talked about, then it is only going to embolden him. Throughout the past 6 weeks, we have witnessed this ongoing democratic crisis in Venezuela go further and further, and all we hear from the Obama administration is words, and hardly even words, hardly even that. Why? I thank the members of our committee who have co-sponsored a bill that would sanction those individuals who are committing human rights abuses in Venezuela. I'm disappointed in the action of the OAS on Friday to see democracies like the Dominican Republic, Colombia, other democratic nations that are democracies because they govern in a democratic way, making the mistake of siding with the repressive regime in Caracas, not in solidarity with the people who are yearning for democratic change. That hurts me extensively. And we know about the ties between the Castro brothers and the Maduro regime. We've seen the Cuban troops who are there. More Cuban troops are coming every day. Military advisors are sent to Caracas to help Maduro oppress his own people. I cited how many deaths have occurred. Who has got the arms in Venezuela? Is it the students or is it the National Guard and all of the thugs of Maduro? If these violent acts were occurring in other regions, Mr. Chairman, I think that we would act, but we choose to do nothing in Latin America. I think these countries are hurt by their proximity to the United States. Now, the President has correctly issued an executive order to sanction those in Russia who have undermined the democratic process and threatened the security of Ukraine. I applaud him for that. But no similar order has been signed for Venezuela. Those officials in Venezuela are killing young people on the streets. There have been tortures happening in the prisons. Young people have disappeared. And at the beginning of the Ukraine crisis, many observers might have missed this interesting footnote, Mr. Chairman, that the Russian defense minister stated that Russia was in discussion with 8 foreign countries seeking overseas military facilities, including 3 in our own hemisphere, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. And Russia continues to bolster its military in front of our faces. Last month, a Russian spy ship, as we know, it was in the press. It was spotted allegedly at the port of Havana. Just 2 years ago, a Russian submarine was spotted off Florida waters. Russia had sent 3 Navy ships to our region that were docked in Venezuela and Nicaragua in 2008. And in the earlier part of this decade, the Russians withdrew from the Lourdes intelligence facility in Cuba, my native homeland, but they can always come back. And what about China? Not only is Russia there, not only is Cuba there, but China is in Latin America as well. Chinese investors are looking to build a canal in Nicaragua, where opponents believe that this tactic is just a way to funnel money to Daniel Ortega and his cronies. And we see, as Mr. Berman had pointed out, Iran, Hezbollah, other foreign terrorist organizations that are using narco-trafficking to fundraise with their illicit activities abroad. So we can't properly address these issues if this administration does not put more resources and more attention to Latin America. We must not turn our back on the people of the Americas, because this will allow rogue regimes to fill the void that American leadership has left behind. So I wanted to ask the panelists, if I might, Mr. Chairman, about 2 issues. The North Korean ship from Cuba carrying illicit military equipment that was stopped by the Panamanians in the canal, and the Colombian peace talks with the FARC that is taking place in a bitter irony in a state sponsor of terrorism country, Cuba. And I'm sorry if you had discussed those before when I was in and out of my...
We did, and
what was the conclusion?
Very briefly, and I said, you know, we keep speculating about all these issues that are upcoming, whether it's Iran, whether it's Russia, etc. And we have an opportunity to draw a line. And the line that we can draw right now is regards to North Korea. These shipments weren't, like I said,